Verification first steps: Unaided response and Occluded response. Your client's hearing aids must be programmed before performing real ear verification. To save time during the client's appointment, you may have already programmed their hearing aids, as we have done for this video. But if the hearing aids have not been programmed, open NOAA and select your client. Select the appropriate hearing aid manufacturer from the toolbar. Once the software is open, connect the hearing aids using your desired programming equipment. Program the hearing aids according to the hearing aid manufacturer guidelines and recommendations. Once programming is complete, minimize the hearing aid software, return to the NOAA home screen, and launch OtoSuite by selecting it from the toolbar. Once OtoSuite opens, use the test selector icon or F8, the shortcut key on the keyboard, to select the desired protocol for testing. Make sure the Aurical FreeFit collar is turned on for connection in OtoSuite. When setting up for verification, you must connect a new probe tube or 2 new probe tubes if you are fitting binaurally for every new session. It is recommended to perform probe tube calibration every time you connect a new probe tube. As demonstrated in the previous video, Getting Started, we have already connected and calibrated the probe tubes for this fitting session. The next step is measurement of the client's unaided responses. But first, we must do a quick check of the client's ear canals to ensure the eardrums are intact and the external ear canals are neither inflamed nor obstructed with cerumen. We also need to ensure proper probe tube positioning in the ear canal to obtain the most accurate measurements. The ideal position of the probe tube is for the end of the tube, when inserted in the ear canal, to be within 5 mm of the eardrum. The recommended probe tube insertion depth for men is 30 mm and for women is 28 mm. These values, of course, are different for children. The recommended insertion depth for children is 20 to 25 mm, depending on the age of the child. Prior to placing the probe tubes into the client's ear canal, it is recommended to move the marker on the probe tube to the desired length. Look on the side of the probe. You'll see a small ruler. On the tube, there is a small black marker that slides up and down the tube. Using the small ruler as a guide, position the end of the tube at 30 mm, since our client in this demonstration is male. Slide the black marker down the tube until it reaches the 0 mm position. Insert the probe tube into the canal, just far enough so that the black marker sits in the intertragal notch at the opening of the ear canal. You can do a quick check with otoscopy to visualize the location of the end of the tube in the canal to see just how close it is to the eardrum. In OtoSuite, go to the Unaided Response tab in the Aurical PMM module. Select the Unaided Measurement button in the control panel to measure the Real Ear Unaided Gain, REUG, or the Real Ear Unaided Response, REUR. The difference between REUG and REUR is that gain is measured by subtracting the input from the output. The REUR response curve is an absolute measurement of output. In this example, the measurement will be shown as a Real Ear Unaided Gain curve, REUG. The curve should not show a negative trough or fall below the zero line around 6,000 Hz in the REUG view. If it does, as you can see in this example for the left ear, you must reposition the probe tube deeper into the ear canal and repeat the measurement. After repositioning the probe tube, the REUG curves show proper probe tube placement for both ears. If you find the probe tube placement is not stable, you can use the black probe tube holder to support a secure placement. The Probe Tube Assistant is a helpful tool when guided placement is desired. This option can be selected from the toolbar icon Probe Tube Assistant. When Probe Tube Assistant opens, select the ear, right or left, and select Show REUG Monitor if desired. Press Next and follow the on-screen instructions to start your guided placement. The Probe Tube Assistant software will visually display the distance the probe tube is inserted. and the remaining distance inward that's needed for proper placement. Press Start. In this example, the probe tube needs to be inserted an additional 5 mm. Gently move the probe tube inward until the green check mark appears, signaling you've reached the recommended probe tube insertion depth. Press Stop and repeat the process for the opposite ear. After achieving a green check mark for both ears, indicating proper probe tube placement, close the probe tube assistant and measure your unaided REUG or REUR as described earlier in this video. Our final measurement before completing aided response for hearing aid verification is the REOG, Real Ear Occluded Gain, or REOR, Real Ear Occluded Response. The purpose of this measurement is to judge the level of occlusion, or conversely, the openness of the fitting. Take note, some vents can be very open, and some open fit domes can be very occluding. Therefore, measurement of the occluded response is very important to determine if the goal of acoustic coupling has been fulfilled for your client's hearing aid fitting. To complete the REOG or REOR, place the hearing aids in the ear, being mindful to maintain the proper probe tube position. Make certain the hearing aids are switched off or muted in the hearing aid software. In this example, the measurement will be shown as a real ear occluded gain curve. On the Occluded Response tab in OtoSuite in the Aurical PMM module, select the Occluded Measurement button in the control panel to measure REOG. The black curve on the screen represents the real ear unaided gain, and the pink curve represents the real ear occluded gain. If the real ear occluded gain curve matches up with your real ear unaided gain curve, your fit is completely open. Alternatively, the occluded gain curve, the REOG, may fall far below the unaided gain curve, the REUG. This would be a clear indication of a closed or occluded fitting.